Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today we have the Buck 112 Ranger Slim. This is a pretty cool knife from Buck, and I actually have had it for a bit. You guys requested that I reviewed it, and I apologize I haven't done it sooner, but at least I got to spend more time with it. There's just been a lot of stuff going on. It took me a little while to get to it. But pretty unique product from Buck. I guess that you can't say unique anymore. This is kind of something they're doing a lot more of. They did the Buck 110 Lite, which was a FRN handle, which this also is, but a much plainer scale. I think they did Buck 112 also in the Lite, but this is the new Slim model. It's one hand open, pocket clip. You're looking at 420 HC steel, which they do an excellent job with. We'll talk more about that later. Your standard backlock, but it doesn't have the standard like construction that Bucks normally do. It's just pretty close to the standard pattern, but it's not like, for example, this Buck 110. This is my son's, but you got this one's an upgrade one with S30V and G10. But normally you're looking at brass instead of this nickel and wood. You know, your usual standard Buck 110 or 112. That's kind of how they usually are. Pretty heavy. You know, this thing's a tank. These are not tanks. This is extremely light, 2.5 ounces. Very, very light knife. And it's cool to see them evolving a bit. And also very inexpensive. You're looking at about $30 for one of these. Not bad at all. And you can find these, by the way, get the plug out of the way, on White Mountain Knives, where you can use the code SDWMK and get 10% off. So go and check that out. There's a linky poos down below and all that stuff. But pretty cool knife. I do really like the overall look of it. It does come in a lot of different colors. It comes in, I want to get this all right. Guys, I'm looking on a screen to make sure I have it all right. It comes in this blue, comes in a red, comes in a chartreuse, which is bright green if you don't know that, and black. It also comes in the Slim Ranger Pro, which is an either G10 or micarta. Those have S30V blades. They are much more expensive. They're like $80, where these are, you know, $25, $30. Really cool for the price, I have to say. Let's do some stats and all that stuff before we get too much farther here. We have an overall length of 7¼ inches, blade length of dead on 3 inches, blade thickness pretty slim, 0.12 inches, handle thickness of 0.41, and as I said, a weight of just 2.5 ounces. So very, very lightweight knife. Do some size comparisons. The knife that first comes to mind, I am going to do a comparison with these, not with this particular one, but because I own multiples of them, but not this particular K-Bar Dozer, but it does remind me a lot of the K-Bar Dozer in price and in size and all that stuff. You'll be seeing a comparison of those coming up. I honestly just have to find the dozer, my brand new dozer that I wanted to use for the video, and I don't know where I put it because I'm a silly person. Compare it to some of our standards here. Your Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Let me see, it's not a terribly large knife. Your Spyderco Para 3. Very similar to that overall. And we're just going to do one more here and get a move on. We will do your Kershaw Bare Knuckle. Yeah, you can see it's not a terribly large knife. The Buck 110 comes in a very, very similar configuration. If you want to know what size a Buck 110 is, it's same as that Buck 110 you just saw a minute ago. These are pretty much the same pattern. They just come in the different with the FRN handles and the pocket clips and the one-hand opening. But other than that, they are very, very similar. How do I feel about this knife? First of all, the blade, it is just 420 HC, which is nothing to write home about. But again, this is not a terribly expensive knife. And Buck does a really good job with the 420 HC. They've been making it for a really long time, using it for a really long time. Their heat treat on it is pretty outstanding. And yeah, it's pretty good. I have to say, it cuts pretty well. It came very sharp out of the box. And it seems to have been holding an edge pretty well. As I said, I've had this quite a while. And I have used it a fair bit. Yeah, it's been pretty good. as far as and you know, I love that classic buck clip point blade. How can you not like that? The only thing I have to complain about is pretty obvious from just the utter lack of sharpening choil. That's pretty ridiculous. But again, it is an inexpensive knife, and you know, Buck doesn't necessarily nail it on their more expensive ones either. So kind of unsurprising, but still yet a bit disappointing. But as far as the overall blade shape and stuff, I think it slices pretty good. It's, you know, nice hollow grind. It's about 24 thousandths behind the edge, if I remember correctly, so not too bad at all. But yeah, it's perfectly fine for the price. I have no issue with it. And this is the only quality issue I have with the knife at all, is the grind is a bit uneven. Again, unsurprising for the price. But as you can see, it's not horrid, but it's a bit uneven. But other than that, that is the only quality issue I have with the knife. It centers very well. You know, there's no movement at all, no blade play in either direction. It's completely solid, which is a good thing because, as you can see, this is pinned together. The only torque screws you have are for the pocket clip, which is right-hand, left-hand. It is a completely ambidextrous knife. But yeah, the quality is great, but you can't take it apart. So if you do have a problem, yeah, nothing you can really do about it. I did dribble some KPL in this when I first got it. Didn't really need it, but I just always do that. I just blew out what was in there with compressed air, put a little bit of the KPL in there, gently blew that into all the cracks and crevices, and it worked pretty well. Ergonomically, really good. I have not held a regular Ranger, so I can't really compare the two, but very comfortable in hand. You do notice the thinness of that handle, but it fits pretty well. This ginormous pocket clip doesn't really cause any problems. I don't really have a hot spot from it at all. But I think ergonomically it works pretty good. It just feels like a, you know, traditional. This would be a fairly large knife for a traditional. So I guess for a large traditional pocket knife, as you can see, the blade to handle ratio is not, there's some extra space there for sure. But they're trying to make it, so you've got more room to grab hold of, and they've done that. It works pretty good. This is going to be legal in a lot more places because it's 3 inches. As far as the carry goes, let's bust out ye old Wranglers for this. First of all, this pocket clip is ridiculous. It's got the shape, the anvil thing on it. I honestly always thought that Buck logo, because I always saw it orientated like this. I'm a moron, and I kind of thought it was a state, but now I know it's an anvil, so I'm full of the stupids. But yeah, and I think it was Cedric and Ada talked about this clip and said it looked like that painting of the person screaming. It does kind of. I can't get that out of my head now. He came up with the joke long before I did, but he's 100% right. It looks ridiculous, but it works. It works very well, I have to say. I have no issues with how it carries at all. You just have that big old pocket clip sticking out. But other than that, no flipper tab, none of that. Nothing to worry about. That's all fine. It's super light. Slides in and out of the pocket very easily. The FRN doesn't seem to do anything about being like a pants destroyer. The tension on this giant clip is very good. It just looks silly. But other than that, it works very well. As far as the action goes, I mean, this isn't going to be a fidget fun knife. It's a lockback. It's really a two-hand closed knife, because even if it would drop free when you push this, it's going to drop free onto your fender, so you don't want that to happen. So it is a two-hand close for sure, as most like the 112s and 110s are. I wouldn't say any of them are one-hand close, but it's a, overall, it's a really good knife for the price, I have to say. I'm very impressed with it. You guys asked me to review it, so I just went out and purchased one with my own monies, and I'm pretty happy with it. As I said, I will be comparing it to the Dozer. I have one of the thumb hole versions around somewhere. That's what I'll be comparing it to. But yeah, it does remind me a lot. It's kind of that same sort of price range and thought, you know, and it's K-Bar and Buck, which are two very well-known knife names in the American knife industry. But pretty cool knife. I am not at all disappointed by it. I really have nothing to complain about. I mean, to ward off some of the other, except for that pocket clip, that's hideous. But other than that pocket clip, and that's just a looks thing. But yeah, people are always going to say, "After I know you can flex it." Yeah, it's not going to break, and it's got a full steel spine on the back with the spring. It's going to be fine. Fit and finish is good. Everything's pretty good, except for that grind thing. It's for the price, you can't complain. USA made. All that good stuff. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've really enjoyed having this knife, and I'm very glad you guys suggested that I review it. Go check one out. Again, White Mountain Knives, SDWMK, 10% off. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.